Subscribe to Storylab. Now, let's begin this one. The December wind cut through the Colorado training grounds like a blade. Marcus Koch stood in the observation tower, watching 71 men and women run the obstacle course below. These weren't regular soldiers. They were private contractors, mercenaries, the kind of people corporations and governments called when they needed problems solved quietly. Marcus had been training them for 8 weeks, and in 3 days, they'd graduate. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Marcus almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Marcus! The voice was barely a whisper, torn and raw. His blood went cold. Lynn. His sister's breathing came in ragged gasps. I'm at the North Gate. Please. Marcus was moving before she finished speaking, sprinting down the tower stairs, his boots hammering against metal. He'd seen combat in 6 countries, pulled men from burning vehicles, watched friends die in his arms. Nothing prepared him for what he found at the gate. Lynn was crawling, actually crawling across the gravel, leaving a dark smear behind her. Her legs bent at impossible angles, both arms clearly broken, hanging limp. Her face was swollen beyond recognition, one eye completely shut, teeth missing. She was wearing what used to be a white Christmas sweater, now soaked through with blood. Jesus Christ. Marcus dropped beside her, his hands hovering, afraid to touch her. Security. Get medical here now. 2 guards rushed over. One went pale and turned away to vomit. Lynn, what happened? Who did this? She grabbed his sleeve with fingers that shouldn't have been able to move. Randy, she whispered. His family. All of them. 26 people. Christmas dinner. Blood bubbled from her lips. They planned it. Recorded everything. Said I was embarrassing the family name. Marcus's world narrowed to a pinpoint. Randolph Jackson. Randy. The man his sister had married 2 years ago. Rich family, political connections. Marcus had never trusted him, but Lynn was happy. Or so he thought. They took turns. Lynn continued, her voice breaking. Randy watched. He told him where to hit so it wouldn't kill me. Said I needed to learn my place. The medical team arrived with a stretcher. As they carefully lifted her, Lynn's hand found Marcus's wrist. He filmed it, Marcus. On his phone. They all did. They were laughing. Marcus rode with her to the medical wing, holding her hand while the doctors worked. 3 broken ribs, both legs shattered in multiple places, compound fracture in her left arm, simple fracture in her right, fractured jaw, concussion, internal bleeding. The list went on. She'll live, Dr. Alicia Small told Marcus hours later, her dark eyes serious. But she'll need multiple surgeries. The leg damage is extensive. She may never walk normally again. Marcus sat in the waiting room as night fell, his mind perfectly calm. This was the calm he'd learned in hostile territory, the cold clarity that came before action. He pulled out his phone and started making a list. Randolph Jackson, age 34, heir to a pharmaceutical fortune, failed businessman kept afloat by family money. Married Lynn 18 months ago in a ceremony that cost $300,000. Alan Jackson, Randy's father, governor of Virginia for 12 years. Presidential ambitions. Known for Family Values campaign platform. Marcus started digging. By midnight, he had names. All 26 people who'd been at that Christmas dinner. Randy's parents, Alan and Dolores Jackson. His 3 brothers, Carrie, Dwayne, and Ricky Gardner Jackson, Dolores' sons from a previous marriage. They kept their father's name. 2 sisters, Gina and Susanna Jackson. Cousins, aunts, uncles, close family friends. All there. All participated. The medical report included photos the emergency team had taken. Marcus forced himself to look at each one. This wasn't his sister. This was evidence. This was motivation. He would need both. 24 hours after Lynn arrived, Marcus called a meeting. His 71 trainees assembled in the main briefing room, sensing something wrong. These were hard people, former special forces, intelligence operatives, soldiers of fortune. They'd been through hell to get here. Marcus stood at the front, his face carved from stone. Behind him, a screen displayed a single photo. Lynn on her wedding day, smiling, beautiful, happy. Some of you know I have a sister, he began. 2 days ago, her husband's family decided she was an embarrassment. 26 people held her down and beat her for 3 hours. They filmed it. They laughed. They let her crawl away when they were done. He clicked to the next slide, the medical photos. Several trainees looked away. Joe McKee, a former Marine sniper, made a sound low in his throat. Her husband directed the whole thing. Marcus continued. Told them where to hit. Made sure she'd survive, so she'd remember. The man is connected. His father's the governor of Virginia. They think they're untouchable. Darren Bonner, ex-Delta Force, spoke up. What do you need, boss? Marcus looked at each of them. In 3 days, you graduate. I'm supposed to send you off to your new contracts. But first, I'm offering an alternative graduation exercise. Completely voluntary. Completely deniable. No records. No witnesses, no trace. He clicked to another slide. 26 faces filled the screen. Driver's license photos, social media pictures, surveillance shots he'd gathered in the last day. These people need to disappear, Marcus said quietly. Not die quickly. Not easy. They need to understand what they did. And they need to vanish so completely that no one ever finds enough to prove anything. The room was silent. Then Johnny Trevino, a former CIA operative, stood up. I'm in. One by one, they all stood. Good, Marcus said, because I've already started planning. The briefing took 6 hours. Marcus had been busy. He'd pulled every connection, called in every favor, accessed databases he wasn't supposed to have. Each of the 26 targets now had a full dossier, daily routines, security measures, weak points, psychological profiles. We have advantages, Marcus explained, pointing to the tactical map on the screen. They think they got away with it. They're celebrating. Randolph's father is already working to cover it up. There's no police report, no investigation. They believe they're protected. Brett Plummer, a former Navy SEAL, raised his hand. What about the governor? He's got resources. He does, Marcus agreed, which is why we hit fast and vanish faster. 9 days. We make all 26 disappear in 9 days, then we scatter. Different countries, different continents. By the time anyone connects the dots, we're ghosts. He pulled up a timeline. We work in waves. First wave, the outer circle. Cousins, friends, hangers-on. People who participated but aren't core family. They vanish clean. Second wave, the siblings, the extended family. That's where we send messages. Third wave, the parents, and finally, Randolph himself. Drew Calhoun, a former British SAS operator with a particular set of skills, leaned forward. What kind of messages? Marcus's smile didn't reach his eyes. The kind that makes Randolph understand exactly what's coming. I want him to break before we touch him. I want him to feel every second of fear that Lynn felt. They divided into teams. Each team took specific targets. Marcus coordinated everything from a mobile command center, a customized RV filled with communications equipment, computers, and enough weapons to outfit a small army. Rules, Marcus said as they prepared to deploy. No collateral damage. No innocence. We verify every target personally. And nothing quick. These people spent 3 hours on my sister. We're not going to be merciful. Joe McKee checked his rifle. What's our cover story when this is over? Training exercise in South America, Marcus replied. I've already backdated the paperwork. As far as anyone knows, this entire class shipped out 2 days ago for a 6-month contract in Colombia. Real contractors are using your names down there, and they'll swear you were with them the whole time. Darren Bonner grinned. You've been planning this since she arrived, haven't you? Since she told me who did it, Marcus confirmed. I know how these people operate. The governor will try to make this go away with money and influence. But you can't buy your way out of what's coming. Day 1 started in Richmond, Virginia. Kerry Gardner Jackson, Randy's half-brother, and the one who'd suggested the lesson for Lynn, left his downtown law office at 7 p.m. like clockwork. He climbed into his Mercedes, never noticing the surveillance drone tracking from above or the tracker planted under his bumper that morning. He drove to his mistress's apartment in the suburbs. This was a Tuesday routine. Wife thought he was at the gym. Johnny Trevino and Brett Plummer were already inside the building, dressed as cable repair technicians. Kerry knocked on apartment 4C. The door opened. A woman appeared. Not his mistress, but someone who looked enough like her in the dim hallway. Carrie stepped inside. The apartment was empty except for a chair and a camera on a tripod. What the? Carrie started to turn, but Brett had already closed the door. Johnny moved fast, military precision, and Carrie found himself zip-tied to the chair before he could process what was happening. Carrie Gardner Jackson, Johnny said pleasantly, checking the camera. Want to know what we're recording tonight? Carrie's eyes went wide when he saw his own face on the monitor. Except it wasn't from tonight. It was from Christmas. From Lynn's attack. Someone had already hacked his cloud storage and pulled the video. Please, Carrie started. I can pay. Not interested in money, Brett said. He pulled out a tablet and showed Carrie a split screen. On one side, medical photos of Lynn. On the other, a live feed of Carrie's wife and children at home, completely safe. Your family's not involved in this, Brett continued. They don't know what you did. They don't need to suffer for your choices. But you? You held Lynn down while your brother broke her legs. We watched the video. You were laughing. Carrie went pale. Who sent you? Marcus Koch. Marcus didn't send us, Johnny corrected. We volunteered. See, we're about to graduate from his training program, and we needed a practical exercise. You're it. What happened next took 4 hours. When they left the apartment at midnight, Carrie Gardner Jackson was alive, but would never practice law again. The psychological damage alone would require years of therapy. They'd made him watch himself on that Christmas video over and over while recreating certain elements of what he'd done to Lynn. Not the same injuries, nothing that would kill him or leave permanent physical damage, but enough that he'd understand. They left him in an empty apartment with his phone. When he finally worked up the courage to call 911, they'd be long gone. And the apartment? Leased under a false name, paid in cash, no cameras in the building. Day 2 brought Dwayne Jacobs Jackson, another half-brother. He was easier, a gambling addict who spent his nights at an illegal poker game in a warehouse near the docks. Drew Calhoun and Darren Bonner picked him up in the parking lot. Dwayne woke up in a shipping container, hands bound. Drew sat across from him, shuffling cards. Want to play a game? Drew asked with a British accent that made everything sound civilized. Here's how it works. I ask you questions about Christmas. You answer truthfully, or things get uncomfortable. Fuck you, Dwayne spat. Drew sighed and nodded to Darren, who pressed a button. The container filled with the sound of Lynn screaming. Audio from the Christmas video. Dwayne's own laughter echoed alongside it. Let's try again, Drew said. Whose idea was it to break her arms? By dawn, they had everything. Dwayne confirmed it was Randy's plan, that the governor knew and approved, that they'd done it to teach her respect. He also gave them details about the other family members, who hit hardest, who filmed, who held her down. They left Dwayne in the container. An anonymous tip to the police about drug smuggling would get it opened in about 6 hours. Dwayne would be found alive, babbling about revenge and Marcus Koch, but with no evidence and a history of drug use. His story would sound like a paranoid delusion. 2 down, 24 to go. Marcus monitored everything from the mobile command center, parked in a different location each night. Lynn was stable, but would need her first surgery soon. He visited her each evening, sitting beside her bed, holding her working hand. It's happening, he told her on day 3. 2 of them are gone. The police can't find them, can't prove anything. Randy's getting nervous. Lynn's good, I found his. Marcus, be careful. The governor. I know, he interrupted gently. Alan Jackson has power. But power doesn't mean much when you can't find your enemy. The 3rd and 4th days brought a shift in tactics. Instead of making people disappear, Marcus's teams began sending messages. Ricky Gardner Jackson, the youngest brother, found his car filled with photos. Pictures of Lynn's injuries, pictures of Carrie and Dwayne's disappearances, pictures of Ricky himself taken over the last week showing that he'd been followed, watched, cataloged. On the back of each photo, a single word, soon. Ricky went straight to the police. They found nothing, no fingerprints, no DNA, no camera footage showing who'd entered his vehicle. The photos themselves were printed on ordinary paper from an ordinary printer. Untraceable. Someone's targeting the family, Ricky told the Richmond PD detective. They took Carrie and Dwayne. Carrie Jackson had a mental breakdown. The detective interrupted. reading from his notes. He's in psychiatric care at Memorial Hospital, and Dwayne Jackson is currently in custody for drug trafficking. Neither one was taken, but the photos could be from anyone. Do you have enemies, Mr. Jackson? Ricky hesitated. He couldn't exactly explain about Lynn without admitting to assault. No enemies. The detective closed his notebook. Then I suggest you invest in better car security. Randy called an emergency family meeting that night. 16 of the original 26 gathered at the Jackson family mansion, a sprawling estate in the Virginia countryside with gates, guards, and enough security to protect a small fortress. Governor Alan Jackson stood at the head of the dining table, his presence commanding. At 65, he still carried the bearing of the Army colonel he'd once been. Silver-haired, sharp-eyed, he'd built his political career on projection of strength. Someone is making a move against us, Alan said without preamble. Carrie's in a psychiatric ward claiming he was tortured. Dwayne's in jail babbling about conspiracies. Ricky's being followed. This isn't random. Randy sat pale and sweating. It's Marcus Koch, Lynn's brother. It has to be. The military contractor? Alan's eyes narrowed. Why would he target us? Randy opened his mouth, then closed it. Several family members shifted uncomfortably. Dolores Jackson, the matriarch, spoke up. Randolph, what did you do? Nothing. Randy stopped, realizing he couldn't explain without confessing. Alan's gaze could have cut steel. Someone better start talking. Now, Gina Jackson, Randy's sister, broke first. It was just supposed to teach her a lesson. She kept embarrassing Randy at family functions, talking about her charity work, making him look weak. What did you do? Alan repeated, his voice dropping to a dangerous quiet. The story came out in pieces. The Christmas gathering, the planned correction, how they'd held Lynn down, how Randy directed them, how they'd beaten her methodically and filmed everything for insurance. The room went silent when they finished. Alan Jackson had faced down political opponents, corporate rivals, and hostile media for decades. Nothing in his expression changed except a slight tightening around his eyes. When he spoke, his voice was calm. How badly was she hurt? She's alive, Randy said quickly. I made sure they didn't. Ow! Badly. Susanna Jackson, the youngest daughter, whispered, both legs broken. Both arms. Ribs. She can't walk. Alan stood motionless for a long moment. Then he turned to his head of security, a former Secret Service agent named Calvin Lang. Find Marcus Koch. I want to know where he is, what resources he has, and who's helping him. Sir, Calvin said carefully, if he's behind this, then we neutralize the threat, Alan finished. Quietly. Permanently. I've worked too hard building this family's legacy to let some mercenary destroy it, because his sister couldn't follow simple social protocols. What Alan Jackson didn't know was that Calvin Lang had already been approached by one of Marcus's teams. The security chief had been shown evidence of what the family had done to Lynn, along with a simple offer. Look the other way for the next few days and receive enough money to retire comfortably in the Caribbean. Refuse and be treated as complicit in the attack. Calvin had chosen retirement. So when he told Governor Jackson, I'll handle it, he meant something very different than the governor assumed. Day 5 began with Susanna Jackson. She was 23, fresh out of college, her whole life ahead of her. She'd held Lynn's hair while others beat her face. The video showed her giggling. Susanna woke up in her apartment to find a man sitting in her living room. Joe McKee, former Marine sniper, current ghost. Don't scream, Joe said quietly. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to make you understand something. Susanna's hand crept toward her phone. Joe held up a remote control and pressed a button. The TV flickered on, showing footage from Christmas, showing her participation. If you call the police, this goes viral, Joe said. Every social media platform, every news outlet, your employer, your friends. Everyone will know what you did. Or you can listen to what I have to say. Susanna's hand stopped. Good choice, Joe continued. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave Virginia. Tonight. You're going to tell your family you need space after everything that's been happening. You're going to get on a plane to anywhere that's not here, and you're going to stay gone for at least 6 months. Why would I? Joe played another clip. Lynn screaming. Susanna laughing. Because if you don't, everyone sees this, Joe said. Your career ends. Your reputation ends. Your life as you know it ends. Or you disappear voluntarily, and in 6 months, when this is over, you can come back and rebuild quietly. Your choice. Susanna chose exile. By midnight, she was on a plane to Seattle, leaving behind a tearful voicemail for her parents about needing to find herself. One voluntary disappearance. Easier than expected, but not everyone would run. Gina Jackson was older, harder. She'd been the one to film most of the assault, had laughed the loudest, had suggested breaking Lynn's fingers individually. When Marcus's team approached her, she pulled a gun. The ensuing firefight was brief and one-sided. Gina Jackson was former Army herself. Administrative, but she'd qualified with a sidearm. Unfortunately for her, she was facing Darren Bonner and Johnny Trevino, who'd spent years in actual combat. They didn't kill her. That would have been too easy. She woke up in a cabin in the mountains, her right hand bandaged. Johnny sat beside the bed, reading a book. "Where am I?" Gina demanded. "What did you do to my hand?" "Minor surgery," Johnny replied, not looking up from his book. "Non-lethal, completely reversible with proper medical treatment. We removed some small bones from your fingers. You'll get them back when we're done." Gina stared at him in horror. "Relax," Johnny continued. "You held Lynn down while they broke her fingers. We're just helping you understand how that felt. The bones are on ice. In about 72 hours, someone will find you here with instructions on where to get them reattached. You'll probably regain about 60% function if the surgery goes well." "You can't do this," Gina screamed. "My father is the governor." "Your father," Johnny said, finally looking at her, "raised a woman who thought it was funny to torture someone weaker than herself. Maybe he should have done a better job. They left her in the cabin with food, water, and a working cell phone. The trick was that the cell phone only worked in one specific spot in the cabin, right next to a window that faced the camera. Every call she made would be recorded, every word monitored. And when she finally called her father on day 7, screaming about kidnapping and torture, they'd have everything documented. Randy's mental state deteriorated with each disappearance. 8 people now. 8 family members gone, broken, or fled. The security at the mansion tripled. Governor Jackson moved resources, called in favors, but Marcus's teams were always one step ahead. Because Calvin Lang was feeding them everything. Guard rotations, security codes, the governor's schedule. On day 6, Alan Jackson himself received a package. Inside was a USB drive and a note. "You raised monsters. Watch what they did." The drive contained the complete Christmas video. All 3 hours. 18 different angles from 18 different phones. Audio clear enough to hear every laugh, every instruction Randy gave, every scream from Lynn. Alan Jackson watched it once. Then he sat in his study for 6 hours, staring at nothing. Dolores found him there at midnight. "Alan, what's wrong?" He looked at her with eyes that had seen combat in 3 wars, had stared down presidents and crime bosses, and had never shown weakness. Now they were empty. "We're going to lose everything," he said quietly. "What are you talking about?" "It's just some contractor making noise." "It's Marcus Koch," Alan interrupted. "I had him investigated. Do you know what that man has done? The operations he's run? He's trained over 300 contractors in the last 5 years. Men and women who owe him their careers, their loyalty. He's got resources we can't match and nothing to lose. Then we go to the FBI and show them what?" Alan's voice rose. "Show them that video? Explain that our family tortured a woman in our own home? Dolores, if this goes public, I'm finished. We're all finished." She went pale. "What do we do?" "We end this." Alan stood, his military bearing returning. "We find Marcus Koch, and we end him. Permanently." But Marcus was already moving to the next phase. Day 7 brought a shift in strategy. Instead of taking family members one by one, Marcus's teams started hitting infrastructure. Randy's businesses, 3 of them, suffered mysterious accidents. Fires at warehouses, computer systems hacked and wiped, bank accounts frozen due to suspicious activity that Marcus's people had carefully planted evidence for. Randy's primary income source, a pharmaceutical distribution company funded by his father, lost its DEA license after an anonymous tip led to an investigation revealing forged documents and improper storage protocols. Documents that Marcus's teams had placed there 2 days earlier. Within 24 hours, Randy was financially ruined. "It's him!" Randy screamed during a family meeting that evening. 15 people remained of the original 26. "He's destroying everything. We have to stop him." "Ow!" Ricky demanded. "We can't find him. We can't prove anything." Carrie's still in the psych ward screaming about demons. Dwayne's being charged with drug trafficking. "Gina's missing." "Gina's alive," Alan interrupted. He'd received a photo that morning. Gina in the cabin, alive but damaged. The message was clear. We can get at anyone. Randy stood up, shaking. "Then we go after his sister. We finish what we started." The room went silent. Alan Jackson moved faster than a man his age should have been able to. His hand cracked across Randy's face hard enough to split his lip. "You stupid, arrogant child. You've brought ruin on this entire family with your pride and cruelty. You will not make it worse." Randy stumbled back, touching his bleeding mouth in shock. His father had never struck him before. "Marcus Koch is winning because we're guilty," Alan continued coldly. "We did what he says we did. That video exists. Lynn Koch is in a hospital because of us. Because of you. And now he's systematically destroying everyone who participated, and we can't stop him because we can't go to the authorities without destroying ourselves. So what do we do?" Dolores asked quietly. Alan looked at each family member in turn. "We make a deal. We find a way to end this that doesn't destroy everything 3 generations built." "He won't deal," Randy said. "I know his type. Military hard-ass who thinks he's some kind of—" "His sister is alive," Alan said. "That means he has something to lose. Everyone has leverage. We just need to find his." What Alan didn't know was that Marcus had planned for this. Had wanted it, even. In the mobile command center, Marcus listened to the meeting through bugs his teams had placed throughout the mansion. He smiled grimly as Alan spoke about finding leverage. "They're going to come after me directly now," Marcus told his assembled team leaders that night. Governors realized he can't win by hiding. He'll try negotiation first, then intimidation. When that fails, he'll go for elimination. "So we move on Randy?" Joe McKee asked. "Not yet," Marcus said. "Randy's breaking, but he's not broken. I want him to understand true fear. The fear Lynn felt when she realized no one was coming to help her. That kind of soul-deep terror, it changes people permanently." Drew Calhoun checked his tablet. "We still have 12 targets from the original 26. 9 days was your timeline. We're on day 7. Then we accelerate," Marcus decided. "Teams 3 and 4, hit the remaining cousins tonight. Teams 1 and 2, I have something special for you." He pulled up a schematic of the Jackson mansion. "It's time to bring the war home." Day 8 started at 3 a.m. when the Jackson mansion lost power. The backup generators kicked in immediately, but every light in the building began flickering in a pattern. Morse code for a simple message. Nowhere is safe. The security team scrambled. Calvin Lang, playing his role perfectly, shouted orders while subtly misdirecting guards away from the actual breach points. Marcus's teams weren't trying to enter the mansion. They were trying to terrify its inhabitants. Speakers hidden throughout the estate began playing audio. Lynn's screams from the Christmas video mixed with the laughter of family members. It echoed through every room, every hallway, impossible to locate or stop. Randy broke first. He ran from room to room, hands over his ears, screaming for it to stop. By dawn, he'd locked himself in a bathroom, sobbing uncontrollably. Alan Jackson stood in the main hallway, watching his sons collapse with cold assessment. This was psychological warfare of the highest order. Whoever Marcus Koch had training him, they were exceptional. "Sir," Calvin Lang approached, looking properly worried. "I think we need to evacuate the family. This house isn't defensible against this kind of—" "No." Alan's voice cut like a knife. "We don't run. I want a direct line to Marcus Koch. Now." "Sir, we don't have." "Find him." Alan turned his full attention on his security chief. "I don't care how. Make it happen." Calvin nodded and stepped away, immediately calling Marcus on a secure line. He wants to talk. Good. Marcus replied. Give him this number. Tell him he has one chance. 10 minutes later, Alan Jackson's private cell phone rang with a number he didn't recognize. He answered in his study, door locked, windows covered. Governor Jackson. Marcus's voice was calm, almost pleasant. I understand you wanted to speak with me. Mr. Koch. Yes. I believe we can find a reasonable solution to this situation. Really? Tell me, Governor, what's a reasonable solution to 26 people torturing my sister for 3 hours? Alan paused. I've seen the video. What my family did was wrong. Criminal. But I'm offering you a way out that doesn't end with everyone destroyed. Everyone's already destroyed, Marcus replied. 8 of your family members are broken or gone. Your son's businesses are bankrupt. And in about 6 hours, that Christmas video is going to be delivered to every major news outlet in the country unless I tell my people otherwise. Alan felt his blood run cold. You're bluffing. Am I? Governor, I've spent the last 8 days demonstrating exactly what I'm capable of. You think I won't push one button and end your political career? Your family's reputation? Everything. What do you want? I want Randy to understand what he did. I want him to feel the fear, the helplessness, the certainty that no one's coming to save him. The way Lynn felt. He's already breaking. You've won. Have I? Marcus's voice hardened. Because he's still breathing. Still capable of rebuilding. Still has a father powerful enough to protect him from real consequences. That doesn't sound like justice to me. Alan chose his next words carefully. I can make sure Randolph faces legal consequences. I can use my influence to ensure the investigation is thorough, that he goes to prison. Real prison, not some minimum security. In exchange for what? Meet the disappearing? Destroying the evidence? Letting the rest of your family walk away? Yes. Marcus was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was colder than Alan had ever heard from another human being. Counteroffer, Governor. You and your wife were in that room. You watched. I saw you in the video, standing in the corner with a drink, observing like it was entertainment. I didn't participate. You didn't stop it. Lynn screamed for help, begged, called out for anyone to help her. You took a sip of scotch and checked your watch. So here's my offer. You get to watch everything you built burn. Your political career ends. Your family name becomes synonymous with cruelty and corruption. And Randy? Randy gets something special. Don't threaten me, Koch. I have resources you can't imagine. I can make you and everyone you care about disappear. Marcus laughed, cold and sharp. You still don't understand. I don't care. I've already won. Your son is in a bathroom right now, crying like a child, broken beyond repair. 9 of your family members are permanently damaged. Your security chief has been working for me since day one. And that video, it's already queued to send. I'm the only thing stopping it. Name your price. There is no price. There's only consequences. You raised a monster, Governor. You protected him, enabled him, stood by while he committed atrocities. Now you pay for it. Or what? Alan's voice rose, military authority pushing through. You think you can threaten a sitting governor? I'll have federal agents on you in hours. I'll bury you and everyone who helped you. Marcus's next words were barely above a whisper, but they carried absolute certainty. Or what? Or I'll continue what I started. I'll make your life a living hell until you beg me to end it. And when you think it can't get worse, when you're certain you've lost everything, I'll take one more thing. Then another. Then another. Until there's nothing left but a broken old man with nothing but regrets. You're insane. No, Governor. I'm a man who keeps his promises. And I promised my sister that everyone who hurt her would pay. You're next, old man. The line went dead. Alan Jackson stood in his study, phone still pressed to his ear, and felt fear for the first time in 40 years. Randy was found 6 hours later, still in the bathroom, catatonic. His eyes were open, but he didn't respond to voices or touch. The mansion's medical staff sedated him and prepared for transport to a psychiatric facility. But transport never came. As the ambulance pulled up to the mansion gates, it was stopped by federal agents. FBI, DEA, ATF. A coordinated raid based on anonymous tips about illegal weapons, drug trafficking, and campaign finance violations. Marcus had spent 8 days not just destroying the family psychologically, he'd been planting evidence. Real evidence, carefully crafted to withstand legal scrutiny, showing years of corruption, bribery, and criminal activity. Some of it was true violations that Marcus's investigators had uncovered. Some of it was fabricated so well that no one would ever prove otherwise. The agents had warrants for Alan Jackson, Dolores Jackson, and 14 other family members. They had seizure orders for assets, property, and records. By noon, the governor of Virginia was in federal custody. The news broke like a tsunami. Every channel, every website, every newspaper. Governor Jackson arrested in massive corruption probe. The preliminary charges were extensive enough that bail was denied. And then, exactly as Marcus had promised, the Christmas video leaked. Not the whole 3 hours. That would have been too much for public consumption. But a carefully edited 5-minute segment showing enough to understand what happened, who was involved, and how Randy had directed it all. Lynn's face was blurred for privacy, but the audio was clear. The response was immediate and brutal. By evening, 3 major news networks were running exposés on the Jackson family. Social media exploded with outrage. Calls for investigations, for prosecution, for justice. Randy's name was now synonymous with monster. Marcus sat with Lynn in her hospital room, holding her hand while they watched the news together. "Is it over?" she asked quietly. "Almost," Marcus replied. "The legal system will handle most of them now. Alan and Dolores will spend the rest of their lives in prison. The others face various charges. They're done. And Randy?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Randy's in a psychiatric facility. Medical transport from the mansion. But he's not in just any facility." Lynn turned to look at him. "Marcus, what did you do?" "I made arrangements. The facility he's in specializes in treating dangerous offenders. The kind of place with locked doors and barred windows. He'll be there for a long time. Is he safe there? Safe from himself? Yes. Safe from understanding what he did? No." Marcus met her eyes. "I made sure his treating physician received the full video. Every therapist, every counselor he'll work with has seen what he did. They'll help him understand his actions, process his guilt. That's actual justice, making him face what he did every single day." Lynn was quiet, processing. "What about you?" "The FBI is investigating the family. Won't they look into who did this?" "They'll look," Marcus agreed. "They'll find nothing. My 71 graduates scattered to 6 continents. Half are using their real contracts in South America and Africa as cover. The other half have alibis so solid they could survive a congressional investigation. Physical evidence? We left none. Digital evidence? Doesn't exist. Witnesses? There aren't any who'll talk. And you? I've been at this facility the whole time, according to records. 30 witnesses can confirm I never left. My security footage shows me here every night. Phone records show all calls originated from this location." He smiled slightly. "I'm very good at what I do, Lynn." She squeezed his hand with her working fingers. "Thank you. You don't need to thank me. You're my sister. This is what family does." A knock at the door interrupted them. Joe McKee entered, dressed in civilian clothes. "Boss, there's someone here to see you." "Federal agent." Marcus nodded and stood. "Stay with her." In the hallway, a woman in an FBI jacket waited. She was in her 40s, sharp-eyed and professional. "Marcus Koch, that's me. Special Agent Carol Terry, FBI. I'm investigating the Jackson family. I understand your sister was involved with Randolph Jackson." "She was married to him, yes. She's recovering from injuries now." Agent Terry pulled out a tablet and showed him photos, crime scene images from the mansion raid. "These injuries, did your sister report an assault?" "No," Marcus said carefully. "She and Randy separated recently. The marriage was troubled. I don't know the details." "Really?" "Because we found a video at the mansion. It shows a woman being assaulted by multiple people. We believe it's your sister." Marcus kept his expression neutral. "I'd like to see it." Terry showed him a still frame. Lynn's face, though blurred, was recognizable. "We're building a case against the family. This video helps establish a pattern of violence and criminality. But we need your sister's cooperation. She's been through enough." I won't put her through a trial. Mr. Koch, these people hurt her. They filmed it. They belong in prison. And they'll go to prison, Marcus said. The federal charges you've brought are extensive. They'll spend the rest of their lives behind bars. Why does Lynn need to testify? Why does she need to relive that trauma in a courtroom? Terry studied him carefully. Because it's justice. Justice would be those people understanding what they did. Facing real consequences. Losing everything. Marcus met her eyes. From what I've seen on the news, that's happening. Some people think you had something to do with that. The timing is convenient. Your sister gets hurt, and suddenly the entire Jackson family collapses. I run a training facility for contractors. I was here when all this happened. I have witnesses, security footage, phone records. Check them yourself. I will. Terry handed him a business card. If your sister decides she wants to talk, call me. We can protect her, ensure she gets justice. She already has justice, Agent Terry. Trust me on that. After the agent left, Marcus returned to Lynn's room. Joe had stayed with her, keeping watch. Is there going to be a problem? Lynn asked. No. Marcus assured her. The FBI has what they need. The Jackson family is destroyed. You're safe. That's all that matters. That night, as Lynn slept, Marcus stepped outside into the cold December air. His phone buzzed with messages from his graduates, all confirming their extraction was complete. 71 people scattered across the globe, ghosts in the wind. They'd done it. 9 days, 26 targets, complete victory. But as Marcus looked up at the stars, he thought about Agent Terry's question. Was this justice? He thought about Lynn crawling through the gravel, broken and bleeding. He thought about Randy directing his family to break her bones. He thought about Alan Jackson standing in the corner, watching, doing nothing. Yes, this was justice. 3 weeks later, the fallout was still unfolding. Governor Alan Jackson resigned from office from his jail cell. Federal prosecutors had enough evidence to put him away for 15 years minimum. Dolores Jackson faced similar charges. 7 other family members were indicted on various crimes. Randy remained in the psychiatric facility, diagnosed with severe PTSD and multiple psychological breaks. His doctors testified that he'd suffered a complete mental collapse and was unfit to stand trial. He'd spend the rest of his life in treatment, reliving his crimes in therapy, unable to escape what he'd done. The remaining family members scattered. Some fled to other states, changed their names, tried to rebuild in obscurity. Others faced civil lawsuits from victims of their various schemes that Marcus's investigation had uncovered. The Jackson Empire was finished. Marcus stood in Lynn's hospital room as doctors prepared her for surgery on her legs. The procedure was risky, but offered hope that she might walk again someday. I've been thinking, Lynn said as nurses checked her for, about what you did, about how far you went. And Marcus asked carefully, I'm not sure I deserve a brother who'd burn down an empire for me. Marcus took her hand gently. You deserve a family that protects you. That's all I did. You did more than that. You destroyed them. I gave them exactly what they earned. They chose to hurt you. They chose to film it, to laugh about it, to think they'd get away with it. I just made sure they understood they were wrong. The surgeon entered, interrupting them. We're ready, Ms. Koch. As they wheeled Lynn towards surgery, she held Marcus's hand until the last possible moment. Thank you, she whispered, for showing me what real family means. Marcus watched her disappear through the surgical doors, then walked to the facility's observation deck. Below, his newest class of trainees ran obstacle courses, preparing for careers in security, protection, and justice. His phone buzzed. A message from Joe McKee. All targets confirmed. Mission complete. No trace. Enjoy your victory, boss. Marcus deleted the message and looked out at the mountains. Somewhere out there, 26 people were paying for their crimes. Some in prison. Some in hospitals. Some in exile. All of them broken, just like they'd broken Lynn. But Lynn would heal. She'd walk again. She'd rebuild. They wouldn't. That was the difference between victim and perpetrator, between justice and cruelty. Lynn had done nothing to deserve what happened to her. The Jacksons had chosen their path, and Marcus had simply ensured they stayed on it. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, then decided to answer. Mr. Koch, A young woman's voice, nervous. "This is Susanna Jackson. We spoke. Your man gave me a choice." Marcus remembered. The one they'd let run. "Go on. I wanted to say thank you. For letting me go. For giving me a chance to be better than what I was." "Are you better?" "I'm trying. I started volunteering at a women's shelter. I'm in therapy. I watch that video sometimes, the one of what we did, and I can't believe I was that person." Then I laughed while her voice broke. "I'm so sorry. For what we did to your sister. For who I was." Marcus was quiet for a moment. Of all the outcomes he'd planned for, genuine remorse wasn't one he'd expected. "What do you want from me, Susanna?" "Nothing. I needed you to know that at least one of us understands what we did. That at least one of us is trying to make amends. Amends would be testifying against your family. I already have. I contacted the FBI 2 days ago, told them everything. I'm cooperating with their investigation." Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps the beginning of it. "Good. Keep trying to be better. That's the only thing that matters now. Will your sister ever forgive us? That's not my decision to make. But if you keep working on being better, maybe someday you can forgive yourself. That's the best any of us can hope for." He ended the call and looked back at the mountains. The sun was setting, painting the snow-covered peaks in shades of orange and gold. Justice wasn't just about punishment. It was about consequences, understanding, and change. The Jacksons who refused to change would suffer for the rest of their lives. The ones who learned, who grew, who became better people, they had a chance. That was more than they deserved. But it was what separated Marcus from them. He believed people could change, could be better. He'd given them that opportunity, even as he ensured they paid for their crimes. Some would take it. Most wouldn't. Either way, Lynn was safe. The monsters who hurt her were broken, and Marcus could finally rest, knowing he'd kept his promise. He pulled out his phone and sent one final message to his 71 graduates. Mission complete. Thank you. Now, go be better than the people we fought. Show the world what real justice looks like. 71 responses came back within minutes. Each one a variation of the same message. Thank you for teaching us, boss. We won't forget. Marcus smiled and put his phone away. The sun dipped below the mountains, and the stars began to emerge in the darkening sky. Somewhere, Randy was screaming in his sleep, trapped in nightmares he'd created himself. Somewhere, Alan Jackson sat in a cell, understanding for the first time that power couldn't save him from his own choices. Somewhere, 24 other people lived with the knowledge of what they'd done and what it had cost them. And in a surgical suite, Lynn Koch fought her way back to life, supported by a brother who'd moved heaven and earth to give her justice. That was enough. That was victory. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the training facility's graduation ceremony, watching his newest class of 75 contractors receive their certifications. Lynn sat beside him in a wheelchair, her legs healing but not yet strong enough to walk unassisted. "Think they're ready?" Lynn asked, watching the ceremonies. "They're ready to learn what ready means," Marcus replied. "The rest comes with experience." On stage, Joe McKee delivered a speech about honor, duty, and justice. Half the audience didn't know he'd spent 9 days hunting down 26 targets across Virginia. The other half knew and respected him more for it. "Have you heard from any of them?" Lynn asked quietly. "The Jacksons. Alan's in year 1 of 15. Dolores got 12 years. Randy's still in psychiatric care. Might never be competent to stand trial. The others are scattered. Most in prison, a few in hiding." Marcus paused. "Susanna's still volunteering at that shelter. She sent me updates sometimes. Do you think she means it?" The remorse. "I think some people break and stay broken. Others break and rebuild into something better. She's trying to rebuild. That's more than most of them are doing." Lynn reached over and took his hand. "I start physical therapy next week. Doctors say I might walk without assistance in 6 months. You'll walk in 3, Marcus said confidently. "You're stronger than you know. I learned it from you." "No, you always had it. I just reminded you." As the ceremony concluded and the new graduates celebrated, Marcus received a text from an unknown number. "This is Agent Terry, FBI. Thought you'd want to know. We closed the Jackson case. Multiple convictions, extensive prison sentences. Your sister's video was key evidence. She never had to testify. Thought you'd appreciate knowing it's over. Marcus showed the text to Lynn. She smiled, tears forming in her good eye. It's really over. It's really over, Marcus confirmed. That evening, as the facility settled into quiet, Marcus stood on the observation deck one last time, looking out of the mountains. His phone rang, a video call from Drew Calhoun in London. Boss, the British job went perfectly. Client's happy, pays good, and I haven't had to hurt anyone in 3 months. That's the goal, Marcus said. Use what I taught you for protection, not punishment. Unless they deserve punishment, Drew added with a grin. Unless they earn it, Marcus corrected. Big difference. More calls came in throughout the night. His graduates checking in, sharing stories, asking advice. Darren Bonner was in Kenya, training local security forces. Johnny Trevino had started his own consultation firm in Texas. Brett Plummer was doing close protection for a tech CEO, all of them thriving, all of them using their skills for good. That was the real victory, not destroying the Jacksons, but building something better in the aftermath. At midnight, Marcus returned to Lynn's room. She was asleep, but peaceful. No more nightmares, her therapist had reported. No more panic attacks. She was healing inside and out. Marcus sat in the chair beside her bed and closed his eyes. For the first time in 7 months, since that terrible day when she'd crawled through the gate, he felt at peace. Justice had been served. The monsters were caged. His sister was safe. And 71 warriors were out in the world, making it a better place. That was enough. That was everything. Outside, the Colorado wind howled through the mountains, cold and relentless. But inside, in the warmth and safety of the facility Marcus had built, 2 siblings rested. One healing from wounds that should have killed her. One recovering from a war that should have destroyed him. Both surviving. Both victorious. Both free. And somewhere, in a psychiatric ward in Virginia, Randolph Jackson woke screaming from another nightmare, trapped forever in the hell he'd created, understanding at last what it meant to be helpless, broken, and alone. That understanding would never leave him. Neither would the fear. And that was exactly what Marcus Koch had promised. He always kept his promises. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.